I want to thank everyone from the media who are here today. I want to thank my colleagues in both the Senate and the Assembly Republican conferences. And of course, I want to thank my good friend, Leader Will Barkley, leader of the Assembly Republican Conference. Of course, my deputy, Senator Andrew Lanza, as well as all the other members who are here today. Some of them, Jared Gandolfo, who I know we're going to hear from today. I'll let Senator Lanza and some of them in Gandolfo talk about the renaming of their legislation and the poignant moment. They introduced this legislation a couple weeks ago. We talked about this, and here we are with a crystal clear example of why we need this bill. So Laken Riley, which you're all familiar with by now, and millions of Americans, as well as New Yorkers and Georgians, are aware of Laken Riley, a young woman who was killed while out running by an illegal alien who is now thankfully in custody. Ironically, he was in custody right here in New York before the murder. I believe weeks before the murder, maybe months before the murder. He was taken into custody by the New York Police Department. But because of New York laws, because of New York sanctuary state laws, local law enforcement do not notify federal immigration officials when they take someone into custody, even if they're here, especially when they're here illegally. So Laken Riley's murderer, albeit alleged murderer, was in custody, in law enforcement custody, and he was released without notification to ICE, to federal authorities, because of policies and laws passed by Democrats here in New York State. It really is that simple. I know there's an attempt by folks in the media, no one here, of course. There's an attempt by people online. There's an attempt by a lot of folks to overcomplicate this issue. That is obfuscation. That is a direct attempt, or it's somebody who just doesn't understand the thread. This has nothing to do with federal immigration law even. You have someone in this state here illegally. New York State has laws that protect these individuals even after they commit another crime against the citizens of New York State. And this is what happens when you do that. Because you're not just protecting someone here illegally, quite frankly, you're protecting a criminal because they break another law. Sometimes they break multiple laws. But we know our colleagues in the Democratic Conference, including Governor Hochul, they love nothing more. They are obsessed with protecting criminals. And I could rattle off bill after bill, law after law that protects those who have harmed, assaulted, robbed, threatened, beat. That's what we do here in New York. That's the problem we're solving. We're creating more victims, bail, discovery, less is more, clean slate. All these things have created numerous victims in New York, and now we're creating victims in Georgia. And the law that my colleagues are here to talk about, and that Will Barkley will talk about now, if this was in place, Laken Riley would be alive today. It's not an opinion. It's not what I think. I'm not extrapolating. It's a fact. If this was the law of the state of New York, she'd be alive today. Her family would have a daughter today. And Governor Hochul and the majority leader in the Senate and the Speaker in the Assembly should take heed. Even Mayor Adams, he's starting to sing a different tune, isn't he? It's high time a law like this gets the attention it deserves, passes through both houses, is signed by the governor. We need to get real about these laws that we're passing, the sanctuary state policies here in the state of New York and in the city of New York. And at this time, I want to call up someone who's been a great supporter on this bill, alongside me on this issue, and that is my colleague again, Assembly Republican Leader Will Barkley.
Thank you very much, Leader Ort, and thanks for your partnership on this issue and so many other issues that we deal with. I want to thank the members of the press that are here, and also thank the members of our conference and the Senate Republican Conference for being here. I'm going to be brief. I think Leader Orr laid it out very well. I wish I could say I'm surprised that we're back here again today, because we were just here 2 weeks ago talking about this very legislation. And if it shows anything, it shows that our Democratic colleagues in this state care more about their sanctuary state than they care about protecting the well-being of all New Yorkers. This sanctuary state never made any sense to me. It didn't make sense back when Cuomo signed it, the executive order back in 2017, and it doesn't make sense to me. Why don't we want our state agencies to cooperate with federal agencies when their only job is to protect the citizens of New York and uphold our laws? Why don't we want them to cooperate? It makes no sense. We've had 8 million border crossings under Biden's watch. We have 175 illegal migrants in New York State. There's no leadership, there's no plan, and there's no clarity. And ultimately, as a result, we have this terrible tragedy with Laken Riley. So I'm happy at least some members of this conference, members of the Senate Republican Conference, and certainly Senator Lanza and Jared Gandolfo are stepping up to do something about it. We failed Laken Riley. We can't let this continue. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Andrew Lanza.
Leader Orr, Leader Barkley, my colleagues, my Republican colleagues from both the Assembly and the Senate, good morning to all of you in the press. We pray for the soul of Laken Riley. We pray for her family. We pray for her friends. And we pray for the soul of America, because that's precisely what is at stake. As a father of children who are just around the age of Laken, I am horrified, I am fearful, I am angry, I am upset. This is a parent's worst nightmare. This, thanks to the leftist Democrats, including, unfortunately and sadly, the President of the United States and the Governor of the state of New York. This is the American nightmare. How did we get here? How did we get here? It wasn't too long ago that Governor Hochul, Mayors de Blasio, now Mayor Adam, leftist Democrats, said to the world, if you break into this country, if you violate our law, come to New York. We want you here. When you get here, we're going to give you everything you need on the taxpayer's dime. We don't care if it means we've got to fire school teachers, firefighters, police officers, sanitation workers, social workers, healthcare workers. We don't care if it blows a 12-point whatever billion-dollar budget hole in only the city of New York's budget. Governor Hochul, President Biden have made New York a resort destination for would-be criminals who are in America unlawful. And what has been the result? Tens of thousands of Americans have lost their lives to fentanyl, which was brought across our border by migrants. Countless victims of crimes in New York City, in New York State, and across America, because the people that come here in violation of our law thank us by saying the heck with you, the heck with your children, to heck with America, to heck with your laws. A lot of people back home and around the state ask me, what exactly is sanctuary state? What does sanctuary city mean? I think most think that it simply means what I've just said, which is you break into the country, come to New York, we're going to give you everything you need for free, and we're going to protect you. And we're going to put your rights above the rights of American citizens. On February 13th, a couple of weeks ago, as Leader Ort said, we stood right here. We stood right here. We and you stood right here. And we said that we've got to end sanctuary state. We've got to end sanctuary city. So how did we do that? Together with Assemblyman Gandolfo, our leaders, our Republican colleagues, we drafted this legislation. Legislation says, and we said at the time, it's insane that we need to have a law that says this. But the law simply says, if you come to New York illegally, you are arrested, the police must do what we always thought they were supposed to do, report you to federal authorities, ICE. You remember Governor Hochul, Governor Adams, Democrats who work right in this building said, we're going to get rid of ICE. We're going to get rid of them. We're going to defund ICE. We're going to defund the police. It says that if you're convicted of a crime in a court of law, the court has to notify ICE so that ICE can do its job, so that ICE can do what the American people want, which is to follow the law. So what happened here? As Senator Ort reminded us, Leader Barkley, an individual came across our border illegally, made his way to New York, of course, because Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams and leftist Democrats said, please, you're welcome here. He got here. He allegedly committed a crime. He was arrested. New York leftist Democrats scrambled. They panicked. They said, hurry up. Let him loose before ICE issues a detainer. And they did it. And he went down to Georgia, as the song says. And he tragically murdered a beautiful young woman who was on the path to dedicate her life in service to others. A woman who wanted to spend the rest of her life taking care of other people. The essence and the spirit of America. That's who she was. And so it's no mistake and no coincidence that the evil that has been unleashed in this country and in this state found her and took her life. So for those of you who are still asking, what is sanctuary state? What is sanctuary city? This is what it is. This is sanctuary city. And that is sanctuary state. You know, when we stood here on February 13th, we didn't know that only 9 days later, this beautiful young woman was to lose her life. As Leader Barkley said, if this were the law, she'd be alive. Make no mistake about it. When we finished our press conference, there were those from the left, you know, the people that get paid to lie, that said we were fear-mongering. You know, Webster says that fear-mongering is making people afraid of something that doesn't exist. I wish we were fear-mongering. I wish the threat didn't exist. But as we know, it does, it is, and it will. Senator Ort alluded to this. This morning, I was asked by someone from the press if I thought I was, and we were, politicizing this tragic death. Are we politicizing this tragic death? Of course, the left wants to ignore this tragic death. They don't care about this life. They see the lives lost as mere casualties in their war to undo America. So why are we doing this? Why is Assemblyman Gandolfo, Leader Barkley, Leader Ort, my Republican colleagues, why have we come back only a few short weeks later to say, it's insane we need this law, but now we need to give it real purpose, real meaning, and we need to name this Laken's Law. We're not politicizing it. I truly believe, and Senator Ort and myself had a conversation last night, I truly believe throughout American history, whenever government hits rock bottom and forgets its promise to protect its people and to defend liberty, that's when God sends an angel. That's when God sends an angel. Laken is an angel. I've seen miracles since her death. I've seen people from the left approach me on Staten Island and say, what are we doing? We've got to fix this. People who, up until that moment, said, sanctuary state, that's my state. Sanctuary city, that's what I believe. I've seen my friend, the mayor, who has been a longtime supporter of Sanctuary City, recently, a few days ago, talk about whether or not it needs to be tweaked. No, it doesn't need to be tweaked, my good friend Mayor Adams. It needs to be ended. But to me, that's a miracle that can only come from an angel, that Mayor Adams is now questioning the very policies that the Democrats have supported here in the state of New York. So, are we going to allow our angel, Laken, are we going to allow her to fix America, to prevent death and destruction, to restore liberty, to battle tyranny? I say we give her a try. I say we do it right here and right now with Laken's Law. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lanza, for being very eloquent on this issue. Next, I'd like to introduce Assemblyman Jarrett Gandolfo, who's also the co-sponsor of this bill. Jarrett.
Thank you, Leader Barkley and Leader Ort, Senator Lanza, for your work and support on this, and for all of my colleagues in both the Senate and the Assembly who are standing here in support of Laken's Law. Now, we are not politicizing this. Politics caused this tragedy. As you might recall, in 2016, President Trump was elected with a pledge to crack down on illegal immigration and secure our border. And in a rush to see who could oppose President Trump the most, New York Democrats did everything they could to undermine federal immigration authorities, even going so far as to pass laws to protect illegal immigrants who commit crimes against United States citizens to protect them from deportation. Ultimately, it's innocent people like Laken Riley who pay the price for these reckless sanctuary policies. Now, in 2022, the man who has been arrested for this murder crossed the border illegally. He was apprehended by the feds and under Joe Biden's catch and release policy was released back into the United States. He goes to New York. In 2013, he's arrested and charged with a felony, and because of the sanctuary status of the state and the city, is released before the feds are notified, and they did not have the chance to issue a detainer. Now, this young woman, who had such a promising life ahead of her, has been murdered, her family is grieving, and it didn't have to be this way. But unfortunately, it is this way. So what we need to do is pass Laken's Law to prevent this from happening again. What Laken's Law would do is require the cooperation between every law enforcement agency in the state to report arrests of non-citizens to ICE. This is the type of cooperation that could have saved Laken's life. And as it stands today, the governor has still not rescinded the 2017 executive order that made New York a sanctuary state. As it stands today, New York City is still a sanctuary city. So we have to change this. We have to restore sanity to this system and protect New Yorkers and United States citizens from future tragedies like this. So we're calling on the governor, the majorities, to take up Laken's Law, pass it, and do everything we can to end the sanctuary state here in New York. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Gandolfo, Senator Lanza, Assembly Leader Barkley, and my colleagues. I'll just close with what Jared Gandolfo said there. She would be alive today if Laken's Law was passed, and the governor hasn't. Not only has she not rescinded the 2017 executive order, which she could do with the stroke of her pen, she hasn't even commented on the death of this young lady. She's made no comment. Now you think about all the things that she's commented on since Laken Riley died, and she hasn't even been able to comment whether to express support and sympathy to the family or to answer for why these laws are still the law of the land in the state of New York. And that's really disappointing for me. To me, as someone who's known the governor for many years, that is very, very disappointing. And I think it tells you, the silence on the other side of this tells you that they know unequivocally that what we are saying is true, that Laken's Law would have protected this young lady. She would be alive today. She wouldn't need a law named for her because she'd be here today. We've created a sanctuary for people like Jose Ibarra, and we should have created a sanctuary for people like Laken Riley. And so with that, I have a hunch that there's an off-topic question. Why don't we go to on-topic first? And if there's not, then we'll move to off-topic. On-topic. Any on-topic? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, if they actually cared, we don't decide what problems to fix in the state or issues based on what the Democrats will or will not do. If that was the case, we would all just go home and save the taxpayers in New York a lot of money. My constituents and the constituents up here that are represented by my colleagues expect us to talk about, these are the real issues that are facing New Yorkers. This is complicated only in this building. It's complicated only in Washington, D.C. If I were to go home and talk about this, everybody, including many Democrats, would say, this makes a lot of sense. Why isn't this happening already? It's just because you're doing it, every year is an election year somewhere, Kate, right? So I guess by that logic, every time we talk about anything about policy, you could be politicizing it. But you know what? As Jared Gandolfo said, it's politics that brought us here, and it's going to have to be politics that fixes it.